transition of Nguni stick fighting into Zulu Shield and Iklwa. I'm going to quickly go over some of the techniques we went through last week, and then we're going to go from there. All right. First, we're going to start with the warm up. Now, with using the shield, you're going to, again, it's going to be very wrist heavy, kind of like last week. So just grab your stick, put it in your left hand, and you're just going to do rotations. We're going to do 10 forward and 10 back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now we're going to reverse that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right. Now we're going to do the other arm. Again, 10 forward and 10 back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Now backwards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. Now, I'm going to loosen up the shoulders a little bit. And do shoulder rolls. Okay. Then again, do 10 forward and 10 back. Ready? Let's start. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And reverse. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, we're going to be a little bit more active today in what we're doing, so we're going to work some of the lower body as well. Again, we're going to do just the shoulders, so let's do neck, and then after neck we'll do hips. All right, so 5 rotations going to your, or 10 rotations going to your right, and then 10 going to your left. All right, ready? Begin. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, come to center slowly. And go the opposite direction. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 10. All right. So now, what we're going to do is we're going to start stretching hips and working on lower body. Okay? So, what you're going to do is you're going to bend forward at the hips, and then bend down towards the ground, and you're going to hold it for a 10 count. All right? Let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Slowly come up. Now we're going to go to the left side. Again, hold it for a 10 count. Ready? Let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. All right. And now we're going to go to our right side. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. All right, come up slowly. All right. So again, welcome everybody. We just got through with the warm-ups that we're going to be doing today. And we're going to be working on, again, the Nguni stick fighting into Zulu Shield and Iklwa. So right now we're going to do a little bit of a review of what we did last week. So a lot of what we did last week, I'm going to just use this as a stick. Left foot forward, and just a lot of your rotations on your hits. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. On the third, I'm going to try to throw that wrap on the third, okay? And into the leg. 1, 2, 3. Now, a lot of the transition from stick to Iklwa is going to be the same. It's going to be the same kind of motions, the same transitions, except there's a little bit more dynamic to it now, because now you get to see the reason why some of the wrist turns and things like that. Okay, so starting from your base, here again, left foot forward. Now, see how this goes. That's your straight shot. Boom. There. Now, when we add that wrap to it, it comes in, you can hit with your back edge right here. Boom.
Maybe a couple steps back. Cool.
So it's going to be there. It comes towards the back of the neck. There. 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 You see how that goes. Now, it's going to be the same with their left side. Again, I'm going to throw, coming from behind. Boom, that's your straight shot. See right there. Now, you're going to counter that wrap. It's going to come that way, up and out. So where this one's going for the head, this was going to overshoot the shoulder and come back into the small of the back here on this side. That's what you're going to want when you throw that wrap. Yes, it's going to come out a little bit more, outside to come back in. But the other reason to do that slash coming there is that's going to set you up for a thrust coming out. It's going to be the same when you throw your wrap shot to the high side. Okay, so I throw, boom, cut with the back, recenter, and thrust. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you what that looks like with the shield. Now, Zulu War Shields average between 3 and 4 feet in height. This is a little less decorated, but this is the one I usually use for LARPing. What I've done, I don't have it here with me right now, but I have a set of skim boards that I've shaved down, spray painted through handles on, and they work just about the same. I'll give you a few more details a little bit later because I'm going to bring those with on my third week, which we'll be covering axe and shield techniques from the Zulu. Now, that's something you haven't heard. What I'm going to do is my class, this series goes on for 4 weeks, but we're going to extend it to a 5th week where I'm going to be covering Zulu axe and shield techniques. Okay, so we're going to go through the cycle of classes. Nguni stick fighting, Iklwa and shield this week. Next week is going to be Kopesh and shield. The week after is going to be Kopesh and Hinjet, which is either spear or javelin, depending on the translation. Sorry. And then we're going to come back to Nguni and Zulu for the 1 week to work on axe techniques. All right, that was just added last week to be exact. So from here, we're going to right into the techniques. Now, the thing with the shield for the Nguni, for the Zulu, is it's actually really dynamic, but it's not dynamic at a point where it moves around a whole lot here. It moves a lot on your diagonals, okay? So you'll have your shield, and you'll move it a lot this way. And the same for lower. You might table occasionally, but that's not going to be too often. Okay, so it's just going to be a lot of this. There's not going to be a whole lot of swinging this way. It's a whole lot of turning, a whole lot of wrist work. It's the same with Nguni stick fighting, if you remember last week. It's just little slight variations and turns and tilts to get your blocks in. Okay, so when you throw, you're first. We're going to start with that high line to the head, coming from your right to your opponent's left. Okay. Left foot forward, boom, and it's going to come there on a straight. All right. So just tilt that shield a little bit and come back. Throw. Come back. Throw. Come back. Now, when you add the wrap shot to it, you're going to step with your rear foot forward. Okay? So, we're going to
The thing
row,
is that a wrist movement versus
wrap.
shoulder.
Sorry?
Is that a wrist movement versus shoulder?
For the wrap shot, it's going to be wrist movement more than your shoulder, because your shoulder is just coming forward like it did with the first shot. Okay? The first shot comes forward. There when you throw. There when you throw. It's the exact same motion on the shoulder. Your wrist takes that from there to there. Shoulder just keeps that forward momentum. Sorry. Okay? And the reason why is because if you throw your shoulder out too much, you're not going to get that thrust in properly, because the shot leads into a thrust. So we're going to go from start, boom, to wrap, there. You're going to come back and see how the shield kind of takes that empty space there that your Iklwa is vacating to come back to thrust for that, to thrust. Now, again, the footwork's going to be important during this. So, anytime, or I know you're going to pick up a slight contradiction here, but as we go along, anytime that you get ready to throw a shot, anytime that the shot's coming forward, you're going to do with your rear foot. Anything on your right side when you're throwing from your right. Okay? And that's going to be, so this shot again. There is your shot A. Shot B will be there. That's your shot B. Now your shot C is going to lead into that thrust.
Boom. You're moving way too close to the camera. You're getting cut off at your shoulders when you get that close.
Okay. So your shot C. Boom. There. Come back. And then shoot out. The reason why pulling back and covering with that shield, covering your shoulder and upper arm with that shield as you're pulling back, one, that's going to be your open spot. But two, it gets to the point where it starts to hide where that shot's going. Okay. Whoa. You can come back all the way to here and sink in and throw that thrust. Or you can just come back to here, boom, lock down, and throw that thrust. Now, if you don't come all the way back past your shield for the thrust, just understand it kind of tells that your next shot's going to be a thrust, but it doesn't tell you where that thrust is going to be. Because on coming back, I can thrust to their right side into their stomach, or even shoot straight for their throat. And it's one of those shots where it gets kind of tricky to knowing on the defensive side of where it's going to go. Now, the Zulu had a really interesting line of logic when it comes down to killing. They actually thought that your soul rested here. So a lot of the motions, movements, and things like that are all going to be to create an opening to thrust into the abdomen to take you out of the fight as quickly as possible, release your soul. So that way you won't come back to haunt them. So for me, anytime that I come back to here, I can either roll the tip of the spear down, roll it down from here, push forward on that step, and follow straight up into the stomach from underneath. Boom. And you can extend out. Now, that's the way that works as we get more advanced. We have to do a lot of sparring with this kind of technique to show a lot of the timing that's going to come along with it. But one-on-ones are balancing towards essential. I can show you those things on a bob or a punching bag. You get the timing down a little bit more. And so that's what I'm working on, ways to try and get that timing down, so I can teach online. But more on that to come. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to throw your shot A 5 times, your shot B 5 times, and your shot C 5 times. All right. And we're going to do this slow so that you can see my motions and you can mimic them. All right.
Be sure to reset after, because you keep moving really far forward. And it's angled down so they can see your whole body, feet and all. That's why I think.
So, we're ready. Left foot forward again. Shield. The best way to think about holding the shield is going to be the top corner of that shield is going to be in line with your left shoulder. Okay? So that should be about there. If not, you need to hold it a little bit higher. Just be mindful of how much of your leg you're going to end up showing and exposing. Okay? So you can rest. You can bring it up here if that's a little bit easier to your arm, which is about where my ear, the level of my ear. But you're going to, at that point, it's a lot more, you'll have more motion coming down to defend your legs. So you're going to have to get used to that kind of work if you want your shield up that high. Okay? So, now, let's throw our shot A. So let's just, there. Now, there you're going to say I didn't step. Again, for me, because I don't have an opponent, sometimes it's difficult to show. It's difficult to have my mindset to do that step sometimes. But, boom. Your arm's going to come out over that shield and from behind that shield. The thing with the Zulu Shield in particular, and it's harder to do with a round or a kite, is in order to protect that arm, all it is you're just going to turn the shield. If you had it, you're just going to turn it a little bit. So, the shot comes there. If they throw a shot towards your shield or towards your lead arm, all it is going from here to there. So think about it along the lines of buckler techniques. When you're fighting with a buckler, they'll always have you keep your hand behind it. With this, you have that added deception of it being a lot lighter than like a wooden shield or a wooden shield or a metal shield, so that you can constantly make the small adjustments just by rolling your hand. So again, we're going to do that A-line shot. 1. On our return, you practice tilting that shield. Boom. Okay? The reason why you do it on the return versus as it's going out, you have to see where they're going, where their shots go. Sometimes if you turn too quickly, you will expose exactly where your lack of defense is going to be. And if you see them, when you start that shot, throwing out, if you see them reacting to that shot and trying to come anywhere around from your center line to your right, so if they break their center, striking to your right, at that point, all you're doing is going to turn that shield. Boom. Okay? So, boom. 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 Again, see how that turns? I'll show that to you sideways, just so that you can see that. Okay? So when you see it, it's going to come there. You see how that looks? The hands exposed. Boom. Now, I'm going to turn the shield with that shot. Covers that hand. And it's no more movement. Boom. Okay? So when I'm saying I'm turning the shield, that's the effect of turning the shield. Okay? Again, you don't have to keep the shield all the way out here. You can keep it a little bit closer to your body, and that way, if anything comes in, say they're doing a power shot. Well, we'll call it a power shot, but they're going to be throwing something with a lot of force and a lot of intensity, and you need to defend it. You can plant it against your leg, and let your legs help you brace that defense. And it's really just throwing it back in and doing it. Now, a traditional Zulu Shield, when you're looking at it, you see how I have this laid out, where it is straight up and down. With a traditional Zulu Shield, it's actually forward a little bit, and that actually makes those turns a lot easier to do, because you have more. Having it centered like this, what ends up happening is some of the weight will tend to go against the turns that you're trying to make. Whereas if it's offset towards where you're looking at, it's offset towards the front. Here, all these motions become a lot easier, because as soon as you start the weight going, it comes back a lot quicker, because you have all that momentum coming this way. All right, and it's not as difficult on the wrist when you get it locked back against your forearm. Your wrist is more at a natural angle with that, because remember, these aren't center punches, so you don't have a lot of room to move your hand around. You're dealing with that offset being the way that you can. So, just a little bit of information on that. And again, this is the way I use it and the way I've gotten to use it in sparring in like LARPs and things like that, to get actual practical understanding of how these things work. Just along the years. So again, I'm going to do 2 more of those A-line shots, and then we're going to go on to the B side shot. Okay? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. I know we did. I know I said I'm going to do a couple more, but yeah.
Grab yourself a drink real quick. Make sure you grab yourself a drink real quick. Water break.
Actually, I was about to do that. Before we get into the next set, can take a drink here.
It's hot, y'all.
It's going to be 108 today, and we're a little bit afternoon, so it's probably about 98 right now, and climbing.
Oh, I think it's more than that, but I don't know.
Okay, now we're going to go in that beeline shot, okay? Which is going to be the same as your A line. Remember, except we're going to turn it into a wrap. So it's going to come down, as such, turn. So it's going to be, if you're using terms from HAMA, it's going to turn into a false edge cut. All right? Go from there. Go out. Come back. Go out. Come back. Out. Come back. Out. Come back. In. Out. Back. Alright? Now we're going to do the C shot on that area. Okay? Which is going to be that wrap, coming back, couching for a thrust, and releasing the thrust. Okay? So, go slow. Sorry. 1, 2, come back. There. 3. Okay? Do that 5 times because it's a complicated motion. I'm going to slow it down a little bit so that way we can make sure that we're doing it right. Okay? So, from start. No. Come back. Yes. Okay. Now, we're going to do the same motion, except I'm going to let the spear ride down the corner of the shield, and we're going to target the abdomen. Okay? So it's 1, count. Turn the shield a little bit, bring it down, thrust. Again, we can level that thrust. When we come up for that thrust, boom, we can angle that shield to intercept anything that they're throwing. Okay? Now, one of the things that once we get that pattern down, there's a double thrust that I would like to teach and start teaching people to do, which is going to be, as you're writing it down, as you throw your shot, boom, come back, count, thrust, there, deep lunge, pull back, crouch further down, and up with the lunge. Now, once I get a place with padding, I can do it correctly. But it's a double thrust and it's made to push hard on the opposite person, on your opponent. So you're going to push them hard, get them off balance with that first thrust, get them stepping back. And as they think you're gathering from your thrust, use kind of a half gather, and then a quick extend. So while they're stepping back from that first thrust, boom, you use that to get the second thrust in, because they have to set. And if they have a shield, they're going to set a little bit like this, because when they come back, they're going to set. And it's going to leave that gap right here where you want that second thrust to go through in length. It's a very difficult thing to pull off in combat, but I've used it effectively. And it's a fun thing to kind of pull out, because people will be like, well, I thought when I retrieved 5 more of that Midline Shot. So throw, and I'm exaggerating the motion out to the side. Throw, come back, and thrust. I'm doing that more so that you can actually see a lot of the motions that I'm going through. I'll try to teach it tighter, but when I'm showing, sometimes I have to exaggerate a little bit more. So 1, 2, 3. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Okay. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. One more time. 1, 2, 3. All right. I started pulling the shield out so you can see my hands a little bit more in that motion. So don't worry. I'm still. The mindset is still to have that shield block that hand, to block the body as well as that hand on the turn. So 1, 2, 3. All right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to do that midline shot. And we're going to go down the right side completely, and then we'll do the left side. All right. So from here, that shot as it comes out is going to go into the side. Again, step forward, shoot. Forward, shoot. Step forward, shoot. Step forward, shoot. All right. Now there's going to be an A. That's going to be your A shot. Now your B is going to be that wrap. All right. So B. 1, 2. All right. And you come back to position. So 1, 2. Quick. You see how that pullback is extremely quick. Wrap, pull.
Do you want a side view of it?
Hmm?
Do you want a side view of it?
Yeah, I'm going to do that in a second.
Okay.
So, do. All right. Gonna go on the side view now. Okay. So, I'm gonna start there. So, there. Optimal is what I just did as far as the shield work and shield motion goes.
They can't see what you're doing.
Oh, okay. So you want it from this side?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
That way they can actually see your motions and see what your arm is doing.
So from here.
And watch your foot.
Yeah. So throw there. Actually, what do you use? That berry right there is a target. That's good. 1, 2. Now the shield is still going to be, as I'm pulling back, that line of the body. Now, with the shape of the shield, it's a lot more forgiving than either a round or a tower, because you have a little bit more area to play with. So, show you one more time. 1, 2. Okay. So that's how that's how that's gonna look. It's gonna look roughly the same when you get into that C line shot. Okay? It's gonna be 1, 2, 3. Now, where your beeline shot starts here, you want the shot here to here on the straight shot and the wrap shot. Your straight shot's going to obviously hit forward. Your wrap shot's going to come from the back. That thrust, however, is not going to be to here. That thrust is going to be target from their belly button to their pelvic bone. Strap along here. Anywhere in this area is where that thrust should land. It's primarily just to open them up, get them to, if they step forward into that thrust, well, you know what happens. If they don't, it makes them more hesitant to step. The other thing is, if you're fighting someone with a shield, that thrust is going to get them to kind of pull that shield back to protect that area. So this is the byproduct of the thrust. Either it's going to get in, or it's going to force them back and lock that shield against them somewhat as they're moving, and they'll be a little bit more hesitant to come forward. Because when you're walking with a shield, it's almost natural for the body to kind of open up a little bit. And that little bit of an opening there is all that thrust needs. So if you're fighting someone with a buckler, it's to pull that low or to pull it high in order to create that opening. If you're fighting someone with a larger shield, it's just to kind of check them and check their motion. Make them slow down their movement to create the opening for you. Alright? So, where are we at? We're going to do the beeline shot on...
Minutes.
Sorry?
42 minutes.
We're at 42 minutes? Mm-hmm. Okay. Cool. So we're going to do that beeline shot again. 5 more times. And then we're going to do the C 5 times. And then we're going to go to the lower leg. Okay? So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Again, exaggerate so you can see the motion a little bit better. From there into the C line shot, the C shot with that. Okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. So from here, what we're going to do is the lower leg. Now, the lower leg, I'm going to count anything going from about 2 inches above the knee down to the ankle. Because when you throw that beeline shot and that C shot, it gets a little bit tricky. But as you're doing it, you're going to change up. Your A-line shot's going to be to the knee. Your B-line shot's going to be to mid-calf. And your C-line shot is going to go from mid-calf. The thrust is going to go towards the knee and then come up. So it's a more compound motion. And the shield work is going to protect you from that. All right? So, shot. Boom. All right? 2, 3, 4, 5. All right? Now, throw that a little high. Let me do that again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, it's a little bit better on my target. It's hard to do without a body standing there. So now we're going
I do not volunteer.
The wrap.
I do not volunteer.
No. I'm gonna have to do it with probably with David or somebody later to throw proper examples. But throwing that B shot on that lower left quadrant. Okay. That's where your shot is with A. Now, when you get there, boom. Your B turns and pulls. Okay? So, throw, boom, turn, pull. When you're doing the lower is where it's going to be more imperative that your shoulder rotation, that your shoulder kind of go with that shot. Because if you don't have your shoulder go with that shot a little bit, it ends up fighting against you and what you want. Because if you don't move the shoulder, it just goes there. If you dip that shoulder, boom, you get that. So, boom, on the wrap. See how that just whipped around? Boom. On the lower, it's a little bit more important to get that kind of circular motion with the, so it's going to look a lot like this. Whoa. I'm just going to start it off. Words there. Boom. And wrap. Boom. Wrap. Boom. But the tip goes a little bit more offline for that wraparound. Okay? And do that about 5 more times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, remember what I said last week about your movements and your steps not being more than half shoulder width for you. With that, it's kind of still the same thing. It does go out a little bit more than half your shoulder. Because half your shoulder is going to be about here. A little bit more, and you're bending at the waist a little bit more to get that motion down for a low shot. And if you notice, as I'm doing all that, the shield naturally will pivot. When I throw my shoulder, I'm behind my shield. So, as I'm throwing it, from here, watch how the shield actually just automatically kind of covers the body. See, that's like not even trying. That's just turning that shield to the side a little bit more. That's all it is. And it automatically comes. Boom. Back. Back. Alright? So when you see that turn in the body, and that turn in the shield, you see how your body's covered. If they try to do anything that's going to attack that back side while you're throwing, you have 2 options. You either, as you step forward, tilt that shield this way, or as you're down, all you do is drop the tip of that shield with you. All right, that's going to be whichever's going to be more comfortable with you on your timing. That's going to be the big portion of that. Now, I'm going to cut this line a little short. We're only going to do two of these low C-line shots or C angle shots with this, because we're getting to a point where I'm getting a little bit worried with time, but not too much. And I want to get to the other side. So, 1, cross. 2, 1. back to the top. We're attacking from here. We're attacking their right side, coming from behind my shield. All right. So when you're throwing to their right, your shield's here. That shield motion is going to dip to about there as that shot's coming up. Okay. So again, from here, dip, boom, to throw there. Okay? So it looks about like that. That's going to be edge. You're pushing hard. So that's the reason why that range can be cut like that. Okay? Again, we're going to be pushing hard. So it's going to be a hard step forward. Boom. To there. Now, we're going to do the thrust off that, all right? Or we're going to do the wrap and into the thrust, okay? I'm just going to step things up. So this is going to be your B and C on that. Now your C is going to come from, when you do that, out. Your C is going to be a light shot just back, or your B. So it's thrust, and pull back to here, and then thrust from there, going to that right side. So you're going to be thrusting across your body, still coming in. Okay? So, 1, 2, 3. And yeah, that can be a little stylish. There's a little flurry there. Doesn't necessarily have to be. 1, 2, 3. Just turn. Boom. Out behind your shield. Boom. At no point does my hand come forward my shield on that. Okay? That's a really big thing on that. Your hand does not come forward of your shield. From this angle, please. There. I do it exaggerated because I like to kind of mark where I am on my shield. So you'll see me do this. Boom, boom. Check there to roll down. To me, that's one of the advantages of having an Iklwa, with the way that that back portion here is kind of bell-shaped, because it's going to make that a lot easier. Because when you throw, boom, that's going to notch up against where your thumb is. It's going to leave her out to get into position for that thrust. It's a very simple movement, but it gets a lot of things done. Now, the wonderful thing about an Iklwa shield is at any point, if you feel like you need to change motions, change targets, it's a lot more forgiving, because at any point in time, all they're seeing is this point right here. So if you need to come over there, it's a lot more difficult for them to react to. Now, as again, I will ask if you have any questions that we didn't get to, still post them underneath. I will be checking to answer questions back, or I will have a larger Q&A section at the end of the Kopesh and Hinjet class, which is going to be the 4th week. So just to let you know, I am paying attention to a lot of questions that I saw last week. I just went ahead and answered in. Because I didn't have that many, I just went ahead and did it there. Now, if I have questions in the future, I will work them out to answer them through a live, Facebook Live, or something, so that way you kind of get the feeling that I'm addressing you personally, because that's the best way to instruct. All right? So, right here, we're going to wrap it up for the week. Everybody go ahead and do your cool down exercises. Peace.
The Historical African Martial Arts Association's Hero Series celebrates the great military leaders of Africa's past. Order yours today at teespring.com.